Hi ladies, isn't this a fabulous card? Our challenge this week at Coloring Down the Lines is to use shades of yellow, and that's exactly what I did on this card. Join me to find out how I made it. Okay, for the first part of this card, you're going to need a piece of watercolor paper, a spray bottle with water, and I'm using 3 colors of yellow. If you want more variety, you can use any colors you want. You can even use 2, but I'm using 3 to see what this looks like. I'm using So Saffron, Daffodil Delight, and Crushed Curry. Okay, I'm going to move this out the way. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my So Saffron pad. Oh, I'm also using a craft sheet, and I'm stamping this onto my craft mat. Then I'm taking the daffodil, and I'm doing this only because that way I will know color-wise what I have, and I'm putting it down. I'm going from lightest to darkest, and then the other one that I'm going to do, and I'm going to stamp it over here. Hopefully, yeah, it's still on. This is the Crushed Curry. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray each of them with water, and you really want the color to beat up. Then I'm going to take my watercolor paper and I'm going to set it down and kind of smush it around. I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to hold it so that the color kind of goes in different directions. I don't have any down here, so I'm going to go back and pick some up. All right, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this pool down to the bottom, and I need a paper towel, which I don't have. What you can do is when it pools down here is you can take a paper towel and blot that off. I see a spot I missed. I'm going to pick some up there. Okay, this is messy, so just so you know. And I'm going to leave this and let it dry. I'm probably going to do it with my heat tool since I'm videotaping. So let me go dry it and I'll be back. Okay, I used my paper towel and I blotted off the edges. It still has some dark spots on there, and then I dried this with my heat tool. You can let it air dry, but since I'm making this video, I wanted it to dry quickly. So now what I'm going to do is, now that this is dry, I'm going to pick up some more, and I don't have much of the darker color. I'm going to leave that, and I'm going to go over here and I'm just going to tap it in and look at that texture that you get. And then I'm going to come here and tap it in, and then I need some down here, and I think I want, let's see what happens if I do the light. Oh, I get a not bad texture, but I'm just tapping it. If I could get something in the center, without anything else. Well, I dropped it in, but that's okay. And if you get too much on there, you can go in and blot some of it off. I really kind of like that. So I'm going to stop there and I'm going to blow this dry, and then I'll make my card. Oh, just so you know, I cut my paper at 5.5 by 4 1/4, which is the card front. I'm going to cut this down, but I wanted extra space in case I didn't get some of the edges and I missed it. So that's what I have. I'm going to clean this up and I'll be back to finish the card. Okay, I let my watercolor paper air dry because that way it didn't push the colors around, and I really wanted those splotches and all that texture in there, and also I let that air dry. I'm going to set that aside because it is dry, and I'm going to go to, I decided since it was yellows, our monochromatic color this week was yellows, to use some to make it a butterfly. This just reminded me of my yellow swallowtails and monarch butterflies that I have at my butterfly bushes. So what I did was I used the Butterfly Thinlits die, and I used this one specifically. And I cut one out of black and pushed all the pieces out. Then I used the negative of this to make a solid pattern using as a template and cut it out. Then I've covered this whole thing with snail. You can use fast fuse also. Now I'm going to take and I'm going to attach, and this is the tricky part. I did not cut around the, and I see a couple of spots that I've missed down here that I'll trim up. I didn't cut, and I didn't put any tape there that I'll fix. I didn't cut around the head and the tail, mainly because I didn't want to fool. It's not going to show. I'm trimming that a little bit so that it's a little bit better. I can get that later. All right, and I'm going to have to go back before I go too far and put tape there. But what I have done then is I took the butterfly and I'm going to flip it over so that all the pieces stay where they are. Normally you want them to pop out, but for this you don't. And I'm going to take these pieces. I did the first one with So Saffron, so I'm going to take and pop out some of those pieces to put back in. And this is tedious, but you know, it looks awesome when it's done. So I stick that one in there. And this one in here. And I got an extra piece I can go. And that's what I'm going to do. I'll probably do this top one. Normally you could do this with press and seal. I didn't have any press and seal, so I thought I'm going to try it without. So I've got that one in, and I'm going to continue with this with just the So Saffron, and then I'll be back with the next color. Okay, I'm back, and what I took and did was there were some spots that I had missed, and I tried using my fast fuse to go back in and fill it in. It didn't work real well, so I took some of the liquid Tombow and I stuck it in there so that it will be tacky when it dries, and I've just left it. So I'm not going to worry about it now because when I'm not going to need it. So now I've taken my Daffodil Delight, and I'm going to fill in, take some of the pieces out and fill it in some of the spaces, just like I did with the other. And actually this is coming out, so let me take it out. It'll make it easier to get the pieces out, I think. Nope. Some of them I may have to go back in every once in a while. They just don't cut all the way through. I'm going to do that and add my pieces. I'm just going to put it back on here and run it back through so that it'll cut those other pieces. Okay, I ran it through again, and as you can see, it's cut better. The first time I ran it through with my die sitting on my plate just like this. So it sat on my plate like this, and I ran it through. Well, the second time I did it, I ran it through like this, and it cut better. Sometimes some of these intricate dies do better run through sideways versus straight on, so just something to think about. All right, let me put these two here. And as you can see, I'm just punching them out and sticking them in. All right, let me go down here and get a couple. I don't think I'm going to use that one. I think I'm going to use these two instead. And it's just a matter of just looking at it and knowing that I've got one other color to add on. Okay, let me finish this up and I'll be back to show you. You don't need to watch me do this. It's the same procedure. Okay, I have the last of my butterfly cut out, and I used crushed curry for this one. So I'm going to punch out the pieces and add them in to the rest of my spaces like so, and then I'm going to push down really good on it so that they're really stuck in. I'm going to finish filling all this in and I'll show you the finished product. Oh, if you get any of these little tiny hairs, I call them paper hairs, just pull them off. If you get any on there, you can use your pokey tool to kind of pull them off. So let me get all of these put together, and be back. All right, I'm going to show you a little trick. I use my pokey tool a lot, but sometimes it just won't pick up all the pieces. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take and I'm going to put a little tiny bit, I don't know if you can see that little tiny bit on my pokey tool of Tombow glue, and I'm going to let it dry. After it's dried, this will be tacky, and then I can pick up those pieces and put them in easier. Okay, ladies, I have my butterfly all done, and I really burnished it well inside. Might be some glue on there that I'll have to take my little eraser to and push down those pieces. This is going to look so good on this background. I plan on using some of our black wire or thread, I don't know what you call it, the metallic wire, metallic thread, I think is what it is, on this, but I also needed a sentiment. So I've pulled out the thank you very much from Bunch of Blossoms, and I'm going to stamp that with Memento on a scrap piece of white. Just making sure it's good and dark. Okay, and I'm going to set that down and just let the ink transfer. Nice. All right. And now I'm going to cut this down and mount it on some cardstock in either the saffron, the daffodil, or the crushed curry. It just depends on which looks nicer on there. And then I'm going to add my wire to the back of my butterfly. But before I do all of that, I have my card base in Whisper White ready to go, and I added some tear and tape all across the back of this. And I'm going to take off all my pieces so I can put this down, and I'm going to show you a little trick. Normally when you put this down, it's going to stick to everything. But what you can take and do is take opposite corners. So I'm going to take this one and I'm going to take the tape off part way and then fold it out. And then I'm going to go down to this corner and do the same thing. Take it off part way, fold it out. So now I can place my card, and the center is not going to stick unless you really push it down. I can see if it's even all the way around. When it's even, I can push down on the center, it won't stay any place, and then I just pull out all these pieces and stick it down, and it's a real quick, easy way to get your layer on even. Let me go do these other things and I'll be back. Okay, I wanted to show you a couple of things. I stamped that, and then I used the Tags and Labels Framelits dies to cut it out. I used the next larger size and cut out a piece of crushed curry to go on the back. I tried the daffodil and the saffron. It was just kind of both lost, so I felt it needed that bold color on there. I took my metallic thread and I know people do it, wrap it around their hands, put it down there, and then it looks fine. I can't do that. So I put down a piece of tear and tape, and then I start with one, and I just keep looping it, and I do a much better job with it. When I'm all finished, I put a piece of tear and tape over top that I just leave on it, unless the object I'm going to put down is fairly flat, but since I'm using dimensionals, I'm going to go ahead, because this is going to go like right about there. It'll be hit, the dimensionals will help hold it. You have to kind of leave it if you're not going to take it off, because it'll come apart. So with that, I'm going to put my butterfly down, and I put it on dimensionals, and I'm not going to do anything with the wings because it's inlaid and I don't want anything to mess up. So there's the front of my card. And then, as you know, I always decorate the inside and my envelope. So I pulled out my watercolor wings set, and I used the smaller ones. The solid one I did with So Saffron. Then I stamped this with Crushed Curry and this with Daffodil Delight. And then I just added my little body, and it's done. Hope you enjoyed seeing this new technique and you'll give it a try.